Hello and welcome to this short episode involving a crimping problem and solution. Now, my current self-flagellation project is to reproduce this massive 11mm cartridge. This is a 11mm French revolver, or 11mm 73, which is for the model 1873 revolver here. And the first pattern of cartridge has a heavily heeled bullet. Now, the result of this is that when you're trying to reload, you end up with a maximum bullet diameter and a case mouth diameter, which are identical. And this presents a problem when you're using your conventional reloading dice. I'm using a Lee Precision custom set, CH4D do one as well. But using the conventional crimping methods that we have available, this heeled design presents an amusing problem. Now, the solution I am showing you here is not of my own creation. It's pretty well known in French shooting circles. However, it's always a pain to find in the forums because some of these posts are really old and sometimes the hosts have changed for the pictures and it's difficult to understand. So I thought I would save it here in video form for posterity. So, as I said, this if you're just reloading with conventional 45 bullets, you don't need what I'm about to show you. The conventional roll crimp that provided by the dies works fine. It's so underpowered anyway that the bullets aren't going to ride forward under recoil because there practically isn't any. However, if you are dabbling in smokeless loads for these, and there is data available, there the crimp does become important, even if you're using non-heeled bullets. I've tried it myself, and there's a bunch of unburned powder that stays behind, and at the moment accuracy is meh. But I read up that once you put a consistent crimp on them, things tighten up, as they should. So, before I launch into the solution, perhaps some of you are not familiar with the different types of crimp that are available for the common day-to-day reloader. So I'll do a little bit on the drawing board here. For those of you that know all that, skip ahead. So the first one, as you can see here, is a roll crimp. This is a 8mm M92 cartridge, not an 8mm Label revolver cartridge. And you can see there that the lip of the case has been rolled into a groove in the bullet here, and that works quite simply. I'll just draw the important bit, that the die set will have a radius, internal radius here, and obviously when the case wall, and you got your bullet, you'll have a crimp groove. Looks like that. Nerdy engineering stuff. And when you push your case up, obviously what you'll get is that the mouth of the case will be rolled, as the name implies, into the crimp groove of your bullet. Like that. So that's all well and good, but for that to function you need to have some your case mouth to be of a bigger diameter than your bullet. Then we have the taper crimp. Now that one, as the name implies, requires a taper. Most common use here, for example, is 9mm parabellum, but quite a lot of pistol cartridges use this. And this is mostly used for bullets that don't have a crimp groove, and that's, well, not even going to bother drawing it. Instead of having a sharp, a sort of pronounced radius here, it's a gradual taper, and that just basically cinches the case mouth uniformly in one go, compresses it down, and it grips the body of the cartridge. Again, the essential point here is that you need to have a case wall diameter which is bigger than your bullet. So the other option commonly available is the Lee factory crimp die, which is a collet system. So here we have the collet, which is split into 4 portions, and the die here is just tubular. We have an annular shoulder here again, and these surfaces here at the top of the collet get forced up against the shoulder, and they push in the 4 quarters here together, and that pinches the case mouth. And here you can see a knackered old one I use just for playing with. You can see the 4 marks there on the lip. So this works very well. However, if I can get the light right, I think you can see that the bit that does the crimping is actually relatively deep. There's probably a good 3 or 4 millimeters here, and if I put cartridge here, it would be, of course, mounted like this in the press. So you can see that in fact the case mouth, the case edge is just inside the portion here that's going to pinch, and the rest is alongside the bullet. So once again, the crimp is going to be limited by the diameter of the bullet. Once the crimp quarters here push against the bullet, it's not going to crimp further. So this is what's available to work with, and what with the situation we have for the 11mm cartridge. These are the bullets. They come from a modified Accurate Arms mold, very, very close to the original projectile, which have a sort of rounded pointy end, but of course these are nose pouring. We can't have that, and the originals had a slight cavity, but they are healed, and you can see there's a crimp groove here just under the maximum diameter. So when these are seated, as you can see, there's nothing here. It's a straight smooth transition, and so I need to really crimp a ring effectively all the way around to grip into this crimp ring here. So what are the solutions? Well, option 1 is to make yourself something that looks a little bit like a bullet mold, with the cavity sized to the cartridge, to the case here, and you leave an internal shoulder just at the top, so that when you close the 2 halves of the tool, it crimps. You get an annular crimp just at the right spot, which is great, but you really need to be quite precise with your measurements to do that. So the second solution involves modifying a 4440 Lee factory crimp die, which just so happens to have a sort of at rest collet diameter, which is just the right size for the maximum bullet diameter or case mouth diameter. In this case it's the same. What I've done to the case body is that I have bored out the retaining shoulder for the collet, because normally they clip in to a recess in the body so that they can't be pulled out. So that obviously when you pull the bullet out, the cartridge out, this thing doesn't come with it. In this case I do want it to come with it, so that I can just then remove it. And what I've done to the actual collet is that I have bored out the top a little bit, and also from the rear here, so that I'm left with effectively a crimp ring. So it's about a millimetre and a half deep. I haven't altered the diameter at all because that's correct. And the third component, which you do have to make yourself, is a little bushing, so that when you put your bullet in, the only bit that's sticking out, you have to calculate this yourself depending on your case length. The only bit sticking out is going to line up with the crimp ring here. So when I put this all together, like so, this is now ready to use, and the case mouth lines up with this crimp ring that I've left in the collet. And basically once this all goes in, I'll push this upwards in the press. It'll crimp nicely, and then I'll pull everything out, and we will have then a correctly crimped cartridge. So enough talk, let's see it actually working. So the die is screwed in. I don't have a locking ring on this one because frankly it's irrelevant how high or low I put it. What I have here is a pusher shell holder. I just made it myself. It's very handy for seating 2.2 blanks when I'm doing the offset rimfire cartridges. So that's just going to be a sort of a ram head. So here we have modified collet, cartridge here without its crimp. Let's put in there and just push everything up. And now it's starting to push. I get a bit of resistance, and I just push upwards until it stops. And you can see that. Oop, there's the camera. You can see there I've got a nice annular crimp, just where it should be, just under the maximum diameter of the bullet. And this is going nowhere. So, mission accomplished. So just in case it's not quite clear what I've done, this is pretty much now what the cross-section of the collet looks like. So I've machined away top and bottom just to leave this little nub here, which forms the annular ring. And the case then comes to there, due to my little sleeve there to stop the case going down too far. And there's the case mouth, here's the heeled bullet with its little corresponding crimp groove, and of course when this pushes inwards, that forces the case lip here into the groove, and jobs are good. So there we have it. Just wanted to show how it's done and put it out there. As I said, this kind of crimp is actually necessary on quite a few of the sort of first gen revolver cartridges, the rimfire ones as well. So 41 rimfire, of course 2.2 LR, which is still around. That has a heeled bullet as well, which means you need a special crimping method for that. And so what I've basically done could be done to any crimp die, radial crimp die like that, to suit your cartridge. So I hope that was useful to you. I haven't put any dimensions because this is really dependent on the diameter of your bullet, what kind of cases you're using. So there's no point me doing that, but most important bit is that if you are boring out one of these collets, is that you don't go too far and bore through everything, because then you need to start again. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your support on whatever platform, and I look forward to seeing you again on the range, hopefully. Bye.